Yesterday, one of the strongest teams on earth walked onto a World Cup field expecting to win. They had more talent, more experience, more quality. And according to football analysts and prediction models, they were among the favorites to lift the biggest trophy in sports. But 90 minutes later, they walked away with a draw. Not because they lacked skill, not because they forgot how to play, but because the FIFA World Cup has never been only about football. The World Cup is where pressure becomes visible, where confidence is tested, where fear and belief fight for control of the human mind. And every 4 years, the same question returns. Who will win? Most people look at tactics, others look at talent. But history suggests a different answer. The FIFA World Cup is not won by the team with the best players. It is won by the team with the strongest psychology, and as the 2026 World Cup unfolds across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, that psychological battle has already begun. The strange thing about pressure is that you cannot see it, you cannot measure it, you cannot touch it. Yet it changes everything. A simple pass becomes difficult. A routine shot becomes impossible. A confident player suddenly hesitates. The same athlete who dominates in training can look completely different when millions of people are watching. Because pressure changes the mind before it changes performance. And nowhere on earth is that pressure greater than the World Cup. Every player knows that one mistake can become a headline. One missed penalty can be remembered for decades. One moment can define an entire career. That is why the World Cup is the ultimate psychological experiment. It reveals who people truly are when the stakes become unbearable. Perhaps no player understands this better than Lionel Messi. Today, people remember Messi lifting the World Cup. They remember the celebrations, the trophies, the glory, but they forget the years of pain that came first. In 2014, Argentina reached the World Cup final. Messi stood one match away from immortality, one match away from completing his legacy. And then they lost. For many athletes, that defeat would have become a permanent scar. The criticism was relentless. People questioned him, doubted him, compared him to legends of the past. Year after year, the pressure grew heavier. Imagine carrying the expectations of an entire nation. Imagine knowing that millions of people are waiting for you to succeed, or fail. Most people would collapse. Messi did not. He kept showing up. He kept competing. He kept believing. And in 2022, after years of disappointment, he finally lifted the trophy. The lesson is powerful. Champions are not people who never fail. Champions are people who refuse to let failure change their identity. The first psychological trait of a World Cup champion is emotional control. Most teams look strong when everything goes according to plan. The real test begins when things go wrong. A goal is conceded. A referee makes a controversial decision. A key player gets injured. The crowd turns hostile. What happens then? Weak teams panic. Strong teams respond. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, the ability to remain calm during chaos, the ability to think clearly when everyone else is losing control. World Cups are filled with talented players. But emotional control is what separates champions from contenders. Because football is not only physical, it is emotional. And emotions can either become your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. In 2010, another player showed the world what emotional strength looks like. Andrés Iniesta was carrying a pain few people could understand. His close friend Dani Jarque had passed away unexpectedly. The loss affected him deeply. Many athletes struggle to perform while carrying emotional pain. Yet Iniesta continued. He continued training, continued competing, continued believing. Then came the World Cup final. Extra time. The entire world watching. One opportunity, one moment, one shot. And Iniesta scored the winning goal that gave Spain their first World Cup title. What makes that moment remarkable is not the goal itself. It is the psychology behind it. Because sometimes the strongest performances come from people carrying the heaviest burdens. Strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is moving forward despite it. The second psychological trait is team identity. Many talented teams fail because every player wants to become the hero. Everyone wants the spotlight. Everyone wants the headlines. Everyone wants the winning goal. But football has a strange rule. The more individuals chase personal glory, the weaker the team becomes. The greatest World Cup teams think differently. They stop asking, "What can I achieve?" and start asking, "What can we achieve?" That shift changes everything. Trust increases, communication improves, sacrifice becomes natural, and suddenly 11 players begin functioning as one unit. This is why some teams with fewer stars outperform teams filled with superstars. Because unity multiplies talent. The third psychological trait is confidence. Not confidence when everything is easy. Confidence when everything is difficult. Anyone can look brave in practice. Anyone can perform when nobody is watching. But the World Cup is different. Billions of eyes, national expectations, the weight of history. In those moments, confidence becomes a choice. The greatest players focus on execution instead of fear. They focus on the process instead of the outcome. They trust their preparation, and most importantly, they trust themselves. Because confidence is not believing you will never fail. Confidence is believing you can recover if you do. The fourth trait is adaptability. The World Cup destroys perfect plans. Every tournament produces surprises. Favorites struggle. Underdogs rise. Unexpected moments change everything. The teams that survive are not always the teams with the best strategy. They are the teams that adapt fastest. When Plan A fails, they create Plan B. When circumstances change, they change too. Psychological flexibility allows teams to remain dangerous even when reality refuses to cooperate. And the same principle applies in life. Success belongs to those who adapt, not those who complain. Now we return to the question everyone is asking. Who will win the 2026 FIFA World Cup? Spain remain one of the strongest candidates. Their technical quality, young talent, and football identity make them incredibly dangerous. France possess extraordinary depth and athletic power. Argentina still carry the mentality of champions. England have one of the most talented generations in modern football. Brazil always possess the creativity capable of changing a tournament overnight. Any of these nations could lift the trophy. But if history teaches us anything, it is this: the trophy will not necessarily go to the most talented team. It will go to the team that handles pressure best, the team that stays united longest, the team that remains calm when the rest of the world begins to panic. If I had to make a prediction today, Spain still look like the strongest overall pick. Not because they are perfect, but because great teams often learn more from early struggles than easy victories. However, the World Cup has a habit of humbling predictions, and that is exactly why we love it. A few weeks from now, one nation will celebrate. One captain will lift the trophy. One team will become immortal. The cameras will focus on the medals, the confetti, the smiles, the history. But what people will not see is the invisible battle that made it possible. The battle against fear. The battle against pressure. The battle against self-doubt. Because every World Cup champion first wins a psychological war before winning a football match. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson the World Cup teaches all of us. Whether you are chasing a trophy, a career, a dream, or a goal that seems impossible, the challenge is always the same. Pressure will arrive. Fear will arrive. Doubt will arrive. The question is whether you will surrender to them or rise above them. Because championships are not won when the trophy is lifted. They are won when the mind refuses to quit. And when the final whistle of the 2026 FIFA World Cup finally blows, the champion will not simply be the team with the best feet. It will be the team with the strongest mind. Before you leave, I want to ask you one question. Which team do you think has the strongest mentality to survive the pressure of the 2026 FIFA World Cup? Is it Spain, France, Argentina, Brazil, England? Or do you believe a surprise nation will shock the world? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology behind success, pressure, and elite performance, make sure to subscribe. Because on this channel, we don't just analyze what people do. We uncover why they do it. Until next time, stay focused, stay resilient, and remember, the strongest victories are always won in the mind before they are won in reality.